Midnight oil, burning bright. Product features, looking right. But the pipelines are running dry. No one knows you're the guy. Admin tasks eat your day. Compliance forms pile away, while the leads just slip on by.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from or when you're watching this. I'm Dan Griffith, and this is our weekly live event where we will be talking today about seriously don't treat marketing as a spare time hobby. I would imagine a lot of us have hobbies that we really enjoy. Marketing shouldn't be one of them. Marketing should be core to your business, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in the same way we talk about topics every week, which is try to give you very, very practical advice that will help you in your journey to scale your business. As I mentioned before, I'm Dan Griffith. I'm the founder and chief consultant at Greater Gain Group, as well as the founder and chief strategist at Grow Digital. At Greater Gain Group, we work with companies that are scaling. They're in the elbow of scaling through consulting and fractional leadership. And then at Grow Digital, we execute those strategies. And we primarily focus on highly regulated markets, which is companies that call on healthcare, banking, financial services, and insurance. So let's dive into today's topic, which is, like I said before, seriously don't treat marketing as a spare time hobby. So curious how many of you finished yesterday feeling productive? You knocked out client work, you handled admin tasks, maybe even crushed some product updates, but then realized at midnight that zero marketing happened again. So let's talk about why this is killing your growth and what you can do about it. So here's the brutal truth, and this comes from Time's recent survey. You're spending, if you're like other founders, you're spending over a third of your week on admin work. And most of you know that you should be doing marketing instead. Kind of in the back of your mind, you're thinking, I need to get to that, but you procrastinate or put it down for whatever reason, right? Something you don't understand, something you don't enjoy, something you don't like dealing with. But it keeps getting pushed to the when I have the time or when I have time to focus. Problem is that time never comes and your pipeline ends up paying the price. So as always, I like to share success stories. And then as those of you that follow our weekly event know, I'm going to share a failure with that and try to be very transparent about that because the whole title is Seriously Don't Do That. That's based on things primarily that I've done in the past or that I've seen done wrong with other folks. So a recent success story. Worked with a health tech founder who spent 5 years building what really is a tremendous product. Lots of work into it, lots of market traction. But I asked him, who handles lead generation or demand generation? And he said, well, I guess no one. We kind of do it, as we have chance, we'll go to a conference here or there. People on the team have conversations, but we really don't have any structured program. Wonder if this sounds familiar, because I do see it a lot. What we did is we defined his ideal customer profile, very, very specific with that. By the way, we do have worksheets for that, and we actually have a discovery call that we can do with you to kind of work through what your ideal customer profile is. Then we executed that strategy utilizing LinkedIn, because that's where his ideal customer profile was, while implementing very consistent outreach. 4 months later, 15 sales qualified opportunity in his pipeline, which that's awesome. And certainly with some focus, you can achieve that. With success stories, I also like to share failures. Now, this is my own expensive mistake. Years ago, I hired and went to market with an incredible sales team for a company that was expanding from the UK to the US. Amazing talent. I think about this as kind of the Navy SEALs of sales. All of the folks on this team, super experienced, really, really good at what they did. Spent months training the team, focusing on product, building process, got everything in place in a month or two, then started executing. What I realized, though, 6 months in, was that the so-called CMO had spent zero time working on creating sales conversations, which to me is the focus when we talk about marketing. If you're a huge company, then you've got branding, you've got all these other things, but and those contribute to your sales conversations. But as a scaling, uh, I'll say a scaling startup or a scaling maybe mature startup, you don't have the luxury of all of that. Your marketing has to create sales conversations. And again, with this particular company, they spent all their money on PR, branding, coffee mugs, and sexy slide decks, which none of those contributed to sales conversations. Seriously, don't hire great salespeople without building your marketing engine first. So again, a failure of mine. I'll share just a very recent story. I was talking with a health tech founder in the last week. Again, awesome product around AI and data and creating data sets quickly. And his background was big company background, and did a lot of work with PR and you know branding, but wasn't doing anything around sales conversations. And so my advice to him was, hey, you need to start there because that's where you're going to get your most traction. So again, summing up on failures, don't do what I did. Focus on your marketing. Don't just focus on developing other things, sales, product, etc. So not only am I telling you not to do it, I'm going to give you a framework to do it, which is where we get to the practical advice. So um, I like to say this is your reality check. So you have really two viable paths. One, shift your focus to include marketing as a core function, or find the right person or company to outsource it to. What you can't do is keep treating it as leftover or procrastinated work. And I know it's easy. It's easy in our businesses to push that off because it's probably one of the less exciting areas. I would say it's exciting for me, but for most people, it's a less exciting area of what you do. And so it gets pushed off. You're going to work on product. You're going to work on these other things that seem more urgent. And then you get to the time when you need to sell your product and you don't have any leads. So again, you've got to make a decision. Are you going to do that internally? Are you going to do that yourself? Or do you want to find a partner that you can send that to? We certainly know one or two partners that are really good at that. So I like to start with the time audit. Those of you that have read Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell, he has a great method of doing that. There are certainly other methods out there. I like what he has, but I'm saying for every hour for 3 days, and 3 days is short, maybe a week might be better. So just brutal honesty, where your time goes. Log every hour. And I mean everything. Client calls, email, bathroom breaks, coffee runs, lunch, etc. Track what you plan to do versus what actually happened. And it isn't about judgment. It's really just about getting that data and figuring out where you're spending your time. Now, you want to audit your pipeline activity over the last 30 days. And again, this may be tough if you don't have a CRM, but you might have to dig in. So you want to count your new leads generated. So those would be sales conversations. How many demos that you booked and opportunities created. So be brutally honest. No creative accounting here. This number will either validate your approach or serve as your wake-up call. And again, what we're trying to do is say, okay, look at how you're spending your time. Look at your pipeline. Is it working? Right? So this is the great way to look at those. And then finally, calculate your marketing neglect costs. So here's where it gets interesting. Compare your time log against pipeline results. How many hours did you spend on admin versus demand gen? What's the cost of that gap in terms of missed opportunities, extended CAC payback, and investor confidence? Again, CEOs burn 24% of their schedule on email alone, according to Harvard Business Review. So, by the way, I want to quote Dan Martell again here, which is going to be probably not done exactly how he says it, but email is just somebody else's to-do list being pressed on you, right? And I get caught in that sometimes too. Matter of fact, I turn off my email platform for most of the day and only have focus time, uh, when I'm getting in there. Uh, so next thing, identify your path. So based on your assessment, now choose which path you want to go. If you have been with, you enjoy the strategic work, carve out the dedicated marketing time, block it like you would any critical meeting. And by the way, at Greater Gain Group, we can help you structure this work and build a marketing engine that you can operate. So again, if you have the time, do it yourself. We have several workshops that we can work with you on that to help you build that engine and show you how to execute that engine. If bandwidth, though, is still your real constraint, and I would say for most founders it is, because they're torn between product, they're torn between fundraising, they're torn between a lot of other things, then find someone that could own this function entirely. When I say own this function entirely, it is foolish to spread this out over 3 or 4 or 5 different agencies, because you will end up being the traffic cop and the conductor. And quite honestly, you're going to get a bunch of that. If you're going to outsource it to somebody that can handle it all. That is, your outreach, creating your content, really everything that you need done. When I was at IBM, we used to say, so that gives you one throat to choke, right? But send it to somebody that can do it and execute it well. And again, no great company that can do that. At Grow Digital, we do this for a number of health tech, fintech, insurtech, payment tech, reg tech companies, and certainly have experience doing that. So both approaches work here, by the way. Either you doing it, building your own marketing engine and running it, or having somebody else, build it and run it. But you got to pick one, and you got to take some action on it. So, as always, want to give you what the quick win is, and for this week, it is our founder 60-minute marketing sprint playbook. So, I've created a founder playbook that helps you identify time leaks and plan your first sprint. Whether you're going internal or outsourcing, it'll show you exactly where to start. And if you're interested, just message us. Send us a direct message, put a comment here, put a comment on our LinkedIn, X, or YouTube channel, and we will get that over to you. So that's this week's presentation. Short and sweet this week. Again, should be done here in 15 minutes, which is great. Let you get back to planning your marketing. So would ask you too, what's your biggest marketing bandwidth challenge? Would love to hear from you on that. Again, direct message us, leave a message here, and we would like to respond to that. Certainly we'll feature that possibly even on a future live event. And next week's topic is seriously don't ignore AI's impact on customer success. So I'm pleased to be joined next week by Jason Noble, who is a customer success expert. He's going to share some wisdom with us and how you can integrate AI and how that can be critical to your customer success, and then why the customer success function is so critical and needs to be integral to your organization. Like I said, we'll have him on. We will go closer to an hour next week, so budget the time and come back and join us. By the way, that session will be recorded due to the time difference between Jason and I's schedule. So, a couple ways to reach us there. Would love to have you reach out. Also, we'll mention if today hit home and you're ready to stop treating marketing as a spare time hobby, let's talk. You can book a 30-minute marketing bandwidth assessment. We'll map where your time really goes, surface hidden demand gen gaps, and hand you a one-page action plan. Also, if you need a speaker for your next event or podcast guest, reach out to me at Dan@GrowWithDan. Want to thank you for your time again this week, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon.
Don't let it sneak. Build the engine, feel the power. This could be your break.